It's March, and if you've made New Year's resolutions, how is that going? Absolutely no judgment here, because statistically, most people have already stopped. But here is what nobody is telling you, is that it's not because you were lazy, it's not because you lack discipline. Your brain literally worked against you. And once you understand how, you can actually change it. So let's get into it. The reality is your brain has two different systems that are constantly in tug of war. You have got the prefrontal cortex, which is the irrational, future thinking, I want to be healthy in 10 years part of your brain. This is the brain, or the version of you that made the resolution on January the 1st, probably after a glass of Prosecco, feeling really inspired. Then you have got the limbic system, or the amygdala, which is your survival brain. It's emotional, it's impulsive, it is obsessed with the immediate reward and avoiding discomfort. And this is exactly where the problem lies, is that your prefrontal cortex is newer in evolutionary terms. It is sophisticated, but it gets tired and it literally depletes. And so every single decision that you make throughout the day, it drains your prefrontal cortex. So by 7 p.m, when you are exhausted, your limbic system is screaming, eat the biscuits, we deserve it. We worked so hard today. And your rational brain is somewhat kind of outmatched. January makes this even worse, because you're not even trying to build one new habit. You're usually trying to completely overhaul your whole life at once. So it's more water, less sugar, exercise every day. We're going to journal, we're going to meditate, we're going to call your mum more, we're going to da 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 da. And your prefrontal cortex is doing all of that heavy work from day one, and it will burn out. And the reality is we have a bit of dopamine misfiring as well. So when you set a goal, your brain actually releases dopamine with the anticipation of the reward before you've even done anything. So the hard work of actually doing it doesn't even come with the same dopamine hit. So you still feel the high, you still make the plan, and then the execution feels flat by comparison. So your brain is literally tricking you into thinking that you have already won. And we have all been sold the idea that the people who achieve their goals just have more willpower, more discipline, more grit. And that if you failed, it means you're somehow weaker than those who didn't, and that you're not disciplined. The reality is the successful habit formation has nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with your environment, okay? The people who stuck to their goals weren't just fighting through cravings, they actually created environments where the cravings barely even came up, right? They put the shoes on by the door. They didn't buy the food that they were trying to avoid. They scheduled the gym the same time every single day, so it stopped becoming a decision. And habits run in the part of your brain where everything's autopilot. So when something becomes habitual, it bypasses that prefrontal cortex entirely. So you don't decide to brush your teeth, you just go for it, okay? The goal was never to actually motivate yourself every single day. The goal is to make the behavior so easy and automatic that it is just a habit. And that is why most resolutions never get that far, because people rely on motivation, which is that feeling. But they should just build the conditions for the habit to stick. You know what I mean? So like I said, it's now March. Maybe you're feeling a bit rubbish about the fact that you've fallen off. Whatever it might be, this is what I want you to do. Ditch the resolution and set a new system instead. So James Clear, which we love from Atomic Habits, said this brilliantly. He says, your goals are about results, but systems are about the processes that leads to results, okay? So the goal of like, I want to lose weight. I go for a walk 20 minutes every morning before I check my phone. That is the system that will lead to that result. This gives your brain something to work with other than just make you feel really guilty every single time you eat your crisps. And the thing is, you need to make this so stupidly small that it's impossible for you to not follow through. That tiny habit, that behavior change is the most durable when the new habit is almost embarrassingly small. So if you want to meditate, start with one breath. If you want to read more, open the book. If you want to move your body, put your trainers on. The brain doesn't distinguish between a 1 minute habit and a 1 hour habit when it comes to building those new neural pathways. The pathway gets built through repetition, not through duration. So start so small that you cannot fail. And then another thing is habit stacking. So attach it to something that you already do. So pair the new behavior with an existing one. So after I make my morning coffee, I will write 3 things I'm grateful for, or I will read that new book whilst drinking my coffee. Your brain has already had this groove of this new existing behavior. Now all you're doing is just adding a new track alongside it, you know? And this is the biggest one, is reframing failure. People who practice self-compassion after a setback were way more likely to get back on track than those who beat themselves up about it. So slipping up doesn't end the streak. The shame of it does, okay? So every single time you fail, you are not starting over. You're just getting information about what needs to change in your environment, whether that might be your timing or your expectations or whatever it might be. And lastly, know what your why is. What is it that you're actually moving towards? Not that I want to stop feeling bad, but I want to feel alive in my body. I want to trust myself. I want to prove to myself that I can do hard things. That prefrontal cortex responds to logic. The amygdala responds to the emotion. So if your why doesn't move you, it won't move you when it is hard. And this all comes down to making sure that your why is actually your goal. A lot of the time we are conditioned by friends and family and people around us that we should be doing this thing because we feel like it's the next thing. You are never going to push through and achieve your goals if it's not your goal to begin with. But anyway, now you actually know what works. So maybe the real question is, what do you actually want to start building? And this doesn't have to be on January the 1st. Now, with everything that you know, that's the question. But thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you at the next one. Goodbye.